Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name is David Platt. I'll be giving this talk for Maui UIJuly. I'm happy to see that going on. And today I am going to be talking about user experience rather than user interface. All right. What's the difference, you ask? And the answer is that UI is about tools. It's about building new controls. It's about implementing this piece of thing or that piece of thing. UX is about users. It's about understanding who they are, what problem they're trying to solve, and making designs that make them happier and more productive, thereby leading them to give us money, which is what we're doing here. Okay, so just by way of introduction, who the heck am I? And you might be most familiar with me through my .NET book. I wrote that a long time ago. In fact, the latest edition is old enough to drink right now. You might have seen me on the back page of MSDN magazine for about 10 years. My column, Don't Get Me Started, that was a fun one to write. All right. I also teach at Harvard University Extension School. I teach computer science. And in fact, this coming year, I'm teaching Maui in the fall term and user experience in the spring term. And these classes are open to the public. They're taught remotely online, and maybe I'll see you at one of those. I got interested in user experience a while ago, and so I wrote this book to say, just here's what's wrong with software, why software sucks. You might have seen this around there somewhere. And later on, I said, okay, this is my most recent book, The Joy of UX. Here's how to fix it. So, right. And to do this, I'm going to be talking about a case study. There's nothing like a good example to illustrate principles. So I'm going to show you the case study of the commuter rail app for the MBTA. And this comes from one of the chapters in The Joy of UX. So, all right, what is the MBTA? And the short answer is that is the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority. They run most of the public transportation here in Eastern Massachusetts where I live. And they do everything. They have commuter boats, they have subways, they have buses, and they have large, heavy commuter rail. And I will be talking about commuter rail because it's a special case, as we'll see. All right. This is the MBTA commuter rail. It is the third busiest in the US behind New York City and Chicago. It has 10 lines, 394 miles of track, 127 stations. I think some computer geek thought that one up. It has 350,000 riders every weekday, and most of them are royally pissed off. The T is not universally respected. In fact, here, as local columnist Howie Carr said a few years ago, the only way to stop the Trump train now might be to turn it over to the MBTA. Okay, what he's writing today, I am just not going into. Anyway, can we make these riders happier or at least less angry by writing a good mobile app? All right, good question. That's kind of what we do. Let's have a look. There already is a mobile app for the MBTA commuter rail. And here it is. You can buy tickets, look at schedules, stuff like this. The ticket buying is actually not bad. On the other hand, the schedules are bad if you tap schedules. So, oh, did you want schedules for the commuter rail or the ferry? What the hell is the ferry doing here? The ferry's on a different app. Why is the commuter rail app giving you ferry schedules? And then if you tap on commuter rail, you got to pick which line do you want. And then they will show you a timetable with all of the stops on the line. You have to pick out your stop. And then when you scroll to the left and look at anything later than the next train in the morning, there, the stations scroll off the screen and you got to keep your finger on the line and you don't know which station is which. That's bad. If a student in my UX class turn that in, they would get a C minus. Alerts are actually even worse. For starters, you don't even know they exist. Active shooter, shelter in place. We had that in 2013. You don't see it here. You have to tap the hamburger menu, and when you do, okay, they're 2/3 of the way down. They're below social media and credit cards for alerts. And if you then tap alerts, you have to say, okay, which service do you want them on? Which line do you want them on? Here's what they look like. Alert. If a student of mine did this, I would flunk their sorry ass so fast they changed their major to Sanskrit. No, this is not an okay thing to do. So, right, we are going to make it better. And in order to make it better, we are going to use Platt's first, last, and only law of user experience, which is know the user, he is not thee. Your user is not you. Your user is not you. Your user is not you. All right. Unless you're writing programs for a bunch of burned out computer geeks, your user is not you. So, all right. How are we going to do this? Well, I'll be showing you. That's what we're doing now. What you don't do is you don't jump right in and start coding. That comes last, not first. The other thing that you don't do is you don't go straight to the graphical designer. once I say, well, you're not going to code it. Well, okay, we'll go to our designer. Well, no. This is a graphical designer. And the graphical designers come in very, very last. Okay, they're not interaction designers. They take what you build and they make it pretty. And yes, things should be pretty. I'm not saying they should be ugly. They shouldn't. But unless you get the interaction right, the best decoration job in the world will not save you. So, right, what do you need to do? What you need to do is you need to work with actual users. You need to sit down with the users of your app, and you need to work with them and try and figure out what they're trying to do, where they're coming from, where they're trying to get to, who they are, what problems they're trying to solve. And when you do that, you will come up with something pretty good, as I will show you. Okay? I've written it down. This is the Platt protocol. Again, you will find that in my Joy of UX book. We start with who. Who are the users? Number two, what? What problem is the user trying to solve, and where and when, and sometimes why? Number three, okay, now and only now do we start thinking about how. We make some sketches. What would it look like, and how would this work with the user? We then try it out. We show those sketches to users, and we take their feedback, and we iterate steps 3 and 4 several times. 5 and 6, we do telemetry to see what they're actually doing. Security, we think about how to keep them safe. We're not working on either one of those today, don't have time. And number 7, make it just work. That's the last thing we're going to do. So we'll be working through these steps. During this talk today. So the first one, who? Who are our users? Okay.
Well, then who's playing first? Yeah. I mean, the fellow's name on first base. Who? The fellow playing first base for St. Louis. Who? The guy on first base. Who is on first? Well, what are you asking me for? I'm not asking you. I'm telling you who is on first. I'm asking you who's on first. That's the man's name. That's whose name? Yeah.
Who? We got to figure out who we're dealing with. Okay. Well, who rides the MBTA? And how do we find out? Well, in this case, it was actually fairly easy to get the first ones anyway. When you ride a train, you will see that there are advertisements on the train for grocery delivery services and things that commuter rail riders like to buy. And who's in charge of these advertisements? And so I looked on their website, and I found this. All of that goes to in the yellow highlight there. All of the vehicle and station advertising is handled by an agency that they have, and there's a contact address. And I sent an email to that person, and that person sent me back their press kit. Here, this is the profile. This is what they show to people who want to advertise. And they do their research, and now they will tell you what it is. And so you start looking at this, and the gender. Okay, that's pretty much an even split, give or take. All right. Looking at the work, they 2/3 of them are working full time. Another 16% are working half time. So 4 out of 5 are taking this for business. An interesting point is the age. If you look at the age profile, the largest single age cohort is 45 to 54, which kind of makes sense. They're the people with the houses in the suburbs, and they commute into work. But then if you look at that, fully half of the age cohort is older than age 45. So this is not a thing for kids. And if you look at the household income, 2/3 of them are 75,000 or more. So, they tend to have some more money. And so anyway, this is a good place to get started. All right, so once you have some basic information, you can start writing it down. And you figure out who the users are. Maybe you split them into separate populations. And in this case, I split it into 2, as in one is for everyday riders and one is for just occasional riders. Okay. And now what you do is you make up a persona. It's an artificial person, a fictional character, if you will. And this fictional character represents your user population. And you will discuss designs and operations in terms of this fictional character. If I say to you, oh, is the user going to like this? Well, what kind of thing? You're sort of thinking about it. If I say, oh, is Aunt Millie going to like this? Well, now you can just feel different parts of your brain lighting up, being forced to contemplate a particular person instead of the user. So that's what we do. We make particular fictional characters based on the data that we have and the data that we will later collect on what these users actually do. And so I made 2. There is Claire, the everyday writer. There is Charlie, the occasional writer. Okay, so, and once I make up the names, this is a personal worksheet. Again, you will find this described in the book. It needs a picture because, again, your brain responds very differently to pictures. They have to have a name, right? The first thing you do when a baby is born, or give it a name, or even adopt a pet, well, or a dog. Well, no, you've got to have a name for whoever it is, and then a tagline. So what they're thinking of, right? What they're about, just in as short as you can make it. Like here, I need commuter rail to get to my job every day. It's really critical for me. So that's Claire speaking. Then you have information about her, the information about what they do with their products and services, like their commuter rail info. What route does she take? How often does she take it? What's the usual train? How does she pay the fare? Stuff like this. Personal information. How old is she? What's her education, marital status, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Some character cues, like a pet peeve or what coworkers say. Stuff like this. Okay, so you work out that persona. So that's what we do with who. Second step, what? What problem is that person trying to solve? What pleasurable state is that persona trying to enter? In this case, this is more of a solution to a problem kind of thing. All right. And so again, what are we trying to do? What are they trying to solve? What would they consider to be the characteristics of a good solution? All right. Now, that sounds kind of open-ended, but Jared Spool, UX guru, he wrote a book called Website Usability, a Designer's Guide, which I like. I said, it's not that hard. You follow the money, you look for the pain. That's where to start. That's where I started. So how did I do? Well, you know what? Try asking them. What a concept. Ask users, hey, what do you like? What do you hate? Okay. I did that. I went to the local commuter rail station. I live in the town of Ipswich, Massachusetts, where there's a commuter rail station. I ride myself once in a while. And I asked passengers waiting for their trains, hey, how often do you ride the commuter rail? And most of them said every day. A few of them said once in a while. What do you like most about riding commuter rail? Well, they like not having to drive all the way into Boston. It takes an hour in traffic, and it costs a lot of money. And what's the biggest problem riding the commuter rail? And the short answer is they all said it's schedules. Schedules are the biggest problem. Okay, because they're constantly changing. The trains are late. The trains are canceled. The weather messes up the trains. Just when is the damn train coming? That's what their single biggest problem. And it was essentially universal. They all said that. A few people mentioned alerts, but apart from the active shooter thing we had back in around the Boston bombing, alerts are almost always the same, more or less the same thing as scheduled. Oh, this train is late, that train is canceled, stuff like this. They also purchase and display of tickets and passes. Well, for this case study, turns out the MBTA progressively has taken all of their scheduling data and stuff and put it online for public access. So anybody can write an app that uses it, and I actually did, and it's here and it works. They have not opened up yet the ticket purchase API, so I can't get my hands on that. But I can get my hands on the schedule. So this app is all about the schedules and the alerts. Okay, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, especially when number 3 is already taken care of pretty well. All right, and 1 out of 2 currently stink. So, all right. And I asked them, what would you like to see in an app? And they all said the same word, just right out of their mouths. Easy. That's what easy. Okay, easy to set up, easy to use. Fine. Okay. So that's so now we got to write this down. Okay, we got to write down for the rest of the team to use what this app needs to do. And you do one of 2 ways. You can do this the prescriptive way, which is wrong. You can write the system shall display schedules to the user on demand. The system shall allow the user to see arrival time, departure time, and train number. I mean, apart from the excessive formality here, written like apart from the excessive formality here, this is the main thing wrong with this here is that it's describing the operation of the software. It's not describing it from the user's point of view. It's not saying what the user wants. Making designs, layouts, diagrams based on this gives us no insight at all into how it fits into the user's life. So we're not going to do this the prescriptive way. Instead, we're going to do it a descriptive way. We're going to make it real with stories. We're going to write a story from the point of view of our persona. Here, Claire wakes up in the morning and turns on the coffee maker. She looks at the window. Several inches of new snow has fallen overnight. She checks to see if the train schedule's gotten screwed up again. Damn, it has. All right, they canceled a regular train. But there's an earlier one, actually an even earlier one that got delayed, that she can still grab as she hustles. She yells to her daughter to get the other kids out to school, throws in her clothes, runs out the door, cursing the politicians who screwed up the transport network. There's a lot of that going around right about now. But she makes her train, keeps her job, doesn't even get her pay docked. Okay. She does have to pick up the load for employees who couldn't get in until noon because the trains got screwed up. Well, yeah, you expect that. The outbound trains are messed up too, but at least she can see which ones are actually running so she can tell her kids when she'll be home. She'll order pizza delivery for dinner tonight. So now we're seeing this problem from the user's point of view. We're seeing where the thing we're looking to build fits into her life. So now, and only now, can we start thinking about, hey, what should this thing look like? How should it work? Now that we know who our user is and how this thing is going to fit into her life. Okay, so Step three, how? All right. Well, thinking about this, thinking about how commuters rail works, we find that, you know what? Commuter rail riding is a highly, highly repetitive operation. Almost everybody, not everybody, but almost everybody, goes to the same suburban station in the morning, and they take the train into downtown Boston. And then in the evening, they get on the train in downtown Boston, they take it out to the same station. So based on that, we're going to tailor our app to that repetition. Our app will do the work so the users don't have to. So based on that, let's go think about making some designs and sketches. Okay. And I know you geeks are looking, yeah, Visual Studio now. No, not Visual Studio now, guys. All right. We're not going to code. We're going to make cheap, quick sketches because we're going to show these to users. And the users are going to say, I like this. I hate that. And oh, by the way, I forgot to mention such and such. It's going to be universal. So we're going to make these in sketch tools. Figma is a big one. Balsamic is another one I sometimes like to use. And by doing this, we are going to be able to iterate this design, get user feedback, iterate this design based on the user feedback very, very quickly, very, very cheaply. All right. Here, we don't use Visual Studio now. The learning curve is a lot less for Figma and Balsamic. It's faster, cheaper to iterate. The sketches are obviously disposable. You see, look back in this, you see how sort of sketchy, if you will, it looks. Users are willing to make changes to that to say, oh, could this be over there? All right. If you make it look beautiful, whether things are in the right place or not, they're not gonna be willing to change it. But if you show them this, that's obviously in an early stage of development, they're much more likely to say, oh yeah, this piece over here works, that piece over there doesn't work so well. All right. And the other thing that you want to do here, we're going to try it out. Cheap disposable sketches. It's important, again, that they be seen as clearly disposable. And you need to keep them monochrome because if you don't, if you allow users to see color at this point, they're going to say, oh, wait a minute, I like that blue. Could that be a little more green? It's a little too blue. Could you make it more green? And it's not time to do that yet. You keep it monochrome, you keep it rustic, you minimize those distractions. You put the absolute minimum amount that you can possibly put into the sketch to learn the things that you need to learn. And so here, this is how I did it. I thought about this for a while. And since almost everybody takes the same train every day for the same station, you know what? Instead of showing the whole timetable with all the stations and making the user pick it out, instead the user will select a station. And every time they'll bring it up, they'll see the trains to and from that station. All right, so that's what this is. So I sketched this up on and started showing it to users on Monday. So I asked all my students who took the commuter rail, hey, take a look at this, would you? You know, you got to train to, you got to be at work by 9 o'clock, which figure out which train to take. And I showed this to them, and they said this. They said it was okay. It's kind of cramped. There's a lot of stuff going on in a small space. It's hard to find the next train. If you look in the middle, I got a timer. When does the next train show up? And it's hard to find it. There's too much stuff going on around it, which is true. And where's my arrival time? Do I have to tap the train? I thought they wouldn't care about the arrival time because they know about how long it takes. Number one, they know about how long it takes from their suburban station. Number two, it really doesn't matter. Damn, the train gets there when it gets there. So, but no, they didn't like this. The point is not that this is going to be a great first sketch. It never will be. It doesn't need to be. So, but what it is it stimulates their minds. It makes them talk. If you just say, what do you want? They'll say, oh, I don't really know. But if you show them this, they'll say, I like this. I don't like that. And that is the kind of information that you get. And because this didn't take me long to do, it didn't take me long to change either. So I got this feedback on Monday and Tuesday. And on Wednesday, I had this to show them again. I took I was still sketching out the case for the pass, but I took that out of the final design. But anyway, I said, okay, I took the pass, put it on a separate tab, and there are the inbound trains, there are the outbound trains, and there are the alerts and the next train timer at the bottom. Okay, a decent iteration based on what they told me. It's less cramped, easier to see what you need. And when I did that, here's what they say. There's a better, but I don't care about tonight's train in the morning, or this morning's train in the evening. And do I tap on the Your Pass tab to show the ticket? Yeah. And then this is the most brilliant thing. The one lady said to me, you know what? I want that next train timer more visible so I know if I need to run. And this is a double hitter. I hit my head and say, oh, holy Toledo, I never for a microsecond imagined that. And within 30 seconds, I hit my head again. Holy Toledo, what on God's good earth could be more obvious than that? And if you think about it, these commuter rails, they don't run that often. About every half an hour during rush hour and every hour or 2 hours outside of rush hour. So you really don't want to miss a train. So being able to see that. That's what the users will tell you. I would never have thought of that in a million years. But the user just knows because she takes it all the time and she looks at this and she thinks in terms of what she's doing. And so by Friday, I had this. Okay. I have an inbound tab, I have an outbound tab, I have a tab for the past. There's the next train timer up at the top, departs in 11 minutes. There's the alerts in the middle. There's the schedule grid at the bottom. And I said, much better. It's easier to see the inbound trains. I'll get tonight's from the outbound tab. That countdown timer is great with the track number. One guy asked, could the tabs be on the bottom for one-handed operation on a crowded train? I'll get to that at the end of this talk. And there. So this is the design. This is the design that I started to build. And I got to here by iterating these quick, cheap sketches. If I had coded this up, it would have taken me much, much longer to get to the first piece. And when the user said, oh, I don't like this, it would have been much, much harder and more expensive for me to change. So that's why you do it. You iterate these cheap, expensive sketches quickly, rather than slow, expensive code. Right there. That's the Plexi protocol on a bumper sticker. So, all right. So that was my design. All right. Telemetry and security, as I said, don't have time to talk about today. They're important pieces. You'll find them in the book, not in this talk. Okay, number 7, making it just work. This is the last thing. This is the last thing you do before you start coding. All right. You make it just work. How can you make it simple, even simpler than it already is? I said, okay. Another story. This is from the point of view of Charlie, the occasional commuter. He's at home on a Sunday night. He's taking the train into Boston tomorrow to work for a client. He can't remember the schedule because he doesn't take the train often enough, and it might have changed since the last time. Charlie picks up his phone and taps our app. It somehow magically knows that he needs tomorrow's schedule and somehow automatically shows it to him. Okay, that's real simple. It shows you how to fit in, how this thing fits into Charlie's life. So how did I build this? How did I make a design that satisfied this? And the answer is this. Here, the app detects that is located in the suburbs. So it automatically shows the inbound tab. It shows the remaining trains of the day, but there aren't very many inbound trains today. So it automatically shows tomorrow's grid. There's 2 more trains today, then there, tomorrow, and then the trains tomorrow. It just works. Does it get any simpler than that? No. And the test users say, bingo, Plexi, you are just way too cool. Well, sort of. Anyway, so that is the design. Now, my friends, now you take it to Visual Studio. Now you know that you're going to be building something that users more or less mostly like. And there it is. And that's actually running. Those are actually real trains. And I got it to work, and it was and it comes out real well. I use this all the time. Couple of points though. You'll keep finding new things as users use your prototype and plan for doing that. Now, for example, here, I have the alert window in the middle. And the thought would be, okay, there's the next train. Oh, here are the things you need to worry about. Okay, there's the schedule. All right, so it made sense at the time. But when I started using it, what would happen is often on some lines, there would be no alerts at all. So there's this big empty space right in the middle. And COVID hit and all the alerts says, oh, hey, wear a mask, stuff like that. Then it wasn't empty anymore. But anyway, it was empty and it looked like heck. So I moved the alerts down to the bottom. So you will find things like that. You will not get it completely done in the sketch stage, but you will have many fewer changes to make in the coding stage when you start actually using it. Right? And in fact, I was standing on the rail waiting for the train, and the guys next to me, and it was late, and the guys were saying, well, damn it, where's the train? How do I find it? And so I thought about it for a minute, and I was teaching Maui this spring at Harvard Extension School. I said, you know what? I'm going to use the mapping API. So I put a third tab on the map tab, the MBTA on their online information. It'll give you the latitude and longitude of the actual trains. So I fetch it and I show it, and there it is in Maui maps. And there's where the actual train is. It's just a little bit south of Newburyport. How do you like that? So, and so that's what you do. That's how you make users happy, by talking to them before you write the code. Okay, you know, sounds kind of simple when you say it, but it's amazing how often it doesn't happen. And so, my friends, you can do this. I know you can. I'll help you. All right. Here's where to find me. Email me here. I'll come into your company and help you. I'll teach you how if you want me to do that. There's my user experience site, joyofux.com. There are my Harvard Extension School classes. I'm teaching Maui in the fall, programming Maui, and I'm teaching user experience design in the spring, and we're going to be doing a mobile app for the case study. And the code for the commuter rail, I'll put the URL in the YouTube comments. All right. So thanks so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing all the rest of the talks in Maui, UIJuly. Thanks a lot. So long.